here. Your team. Our pizza. Picasso's. Order online today at picassospizza.net.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Trainwreck Sports Podcast, where we are here to pay the bills. Jake Micah, solo episode. We're going to keep it short tonight. It's a beautiful, I believe, evening in Western New York. It's a beautiful evening here in Chicago, Illinois. Spring has sprung. It's March. March Madness coming up this weekend. It's a beautiful time, but we're right within the thick of draft season. Draft is about a month away. Free agency, really the first fury of free agency is finished last week. So we're just going to take the chance here to kind of go through all the moves the Bills have made. Free agent wise, extension wise, everything, and just kind of talk through it. Look ahead to the draft, and then I have a couple thoughts on the wide receivers of the world. Stefon Diggs, Jamar Chase, everything there. But let's start with free agency so far. So I'm going to go over the cap. Great website. I'm just going to go down. They have a list of a good list here of players that we're going to go through here. And I'm actually just going to bring it up on the screen here because it's a great fancy little system here that we're looking at. Let me see what it looks like for you guys here. All right, yeah. And then we will zoom in on this a little bit. This is a great podcast audio. Okay, you know what? We're not actually going to do that. We're just going to do this myself. So what we're talking through here is everything that the Bills have done so far in free agency. Josh Allen being the biggest move, right? Josh Allen extended. He gets $147 million in guarantees. He's making $55 million a year now, extended for 6 years. Biggest thing they could have done this year is extend Josh Allen. Really, this is the story of the extensions that they've done. Rousseau getting the extension, we'll take all those as positive moves heading into it. All the extensions, I'm really happy with. Shakir, Bernard, really happy with them, locking these guys up, taking care of their own, and figuring out what their flexibility is going to be going forward. Amari Cooper, not likely to be coming back as a Bill. Looks like the Amari Cooper train has pretty much sailed here. Von Miller, who knows? I could see them bringing back Von Miller on a really small deal, but I've seen some rumblings about him ending up in Denver. So we'll see what happens with Von there. As I talked about, I'm good with all the extensions, specifically Allen, getting him paid. Rousseau, I like it. Still a chance to become a guy for elite production. Imagine if he produces, 13 sacks this year on $20 million. That's a good deal. Shakir, love that. Bernard, I don't love it as much, but it makes a lot more sense when you think about the Matt Milano of it all here, right? Milano takes a year off of his deal. He's essentially on the last year of his contracts now. Matt Milano is. So linebacker all of a sudden becomes a position of need for this team, starting thinking about next year, replacements for Milano down the line. Bernard getting locked up, though, at least you have one of those guys kept together. So it makes sense. But linebacker, an interesting position to look at into the draft and into the future. How much do they love a Dorian Williams? How much do they love a Dorian Williams? How much do they love Joe Andreessen? Is Sean Dolak, another Buffalo guy, on the radar this year to become a potential Milano replacement? I think we need to start thinking about that, though. We talked about it last week at length about Joey Bosa. Love the signing. It's a high risk, or it's high reward, and there is some risk to it, but at 1 year, you're really just hoping for the best case scenario when it comes to production. So I like what they got with Bosa there so far. With the setup that they got, zero guarantees too. Interesting there. Palmer, we saw this is essentially a 2-year, $22 million deal. I'm happy with that. I think Palmer's going to have a role. Now, the Ogunjobi Hoyt thing, this we did not talk about last year or last week. Ogunjobi and Hoyt being suspended. They apparently knew about Hoyt before signing him, but they didn't know about Ogunjobi. until he showed up. You know, you need those guys for the end of the year, anyways. I don't think it's a big deal. It's disappointing. It sucks. Whatever. They're going to address this position in the draft anyway. So I'm okay with it. Russell Douglas remaining unsigned. We'll see, man. I mean, I could see them bringing him back on a very small deal, but it feels like that's going to be a position they talk about in the draft. We'll get to that. We know Mac Hollins. See you later, buddy. Got a huge payday there in New England. Austin Johnson remains unsigned. Won't see him back probably with Ogunjobi signing. Same with Smoot, probably gone. Elam with the Cowboys with some spicy words for the Bills. It is what it is. Ty Johnson brought back. Darrington Evans brought back to round out that running back room. DeMar Hamlin brought back to be a solid depth safety. Gilliam, Ferguson, Forrest, we talked about a little bit last week. High ceiling. He played in Ron Rivera's defense. Apparently, Ron Rivera called Sean McDermott and told him that this guy is perfect for their defense. So, and then the big one, Dane Jackson. Starting corner next year? No. But at least a guy who comes in and knows the offense, knows the defense, knows what you're doing there. So that's it. I'm happy overall with free agency so far. And I think it brings us to the draft and the different scenarios that could play out in the draft here. I've seen, we've talked about in the mocks this week, I believe Mel Kiper and I think NFL Network both had Kenneth Grant, big D tackle, about 350 pounds from Michigan, being the guy that the Bills would go after. Right out of the combine before free agency, it was Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. So we talked about him at length. Corner and D line feels like it's gonna be the target area for this team, right? So we'll see what happens, man. I'm interested in the scenario of them trading up big, honestly. Maybe into the teens, maybe for a Jody Barron. Maybe for a Will Johnson. Let's take a look at the Kuiper mock draft. What are some trade up scenarios that the Bills could get into? Because I think that could be the Bills' splash move, is they have the ammo to trade up in the draft. So what if they've been saving the splash move for the draft? It's very possible. It could be the spot that they're able to do this. Is the draft. I mean, it really is like the most likely spot at this point, too. So who is the guy that they could go target? You'd think it'd still be corner, it'd still be edge rusher, it'd still be D tackle. So let's get into it. Let's look at the Kuiper draft from today. I'm trying to look at the Kuiper draft today. Once I can log into my ESPN Plus account. But I think a big trade up is a huge possibility for the Buffalo Bills because it's really their best way to get big time talent in there. And so why not? Why not? Why not take the swing here if you can do it? You have to take a swing at some point, man. If you're Brandon Beane, you got to take a swing at some point. So maybe the draft is that spot to take a swing. I could see it. Let's go. Let's check out Kuiper and the big board here. I mean, getting into the top 10 is going to be hard. Like Mason Graham's your first guy you're eyeing, but they're probably not getting all the way up to 5. Couldn't imagine that. So you're really looking, I don't know. Like you could be getting Mike Green territory. 15 here. They loved him. They met with him. Jahad Campbell territory. Will Johnson, late teens. I like that. Like this is the area we start looking. Jahad Campbell. I could see them going up. They met with him. We're talking about the Milano news. Emma Worry. I don't think they're going to go after a safety, but like Derek Harmon. If they love Derek Harmon, do they go up and get him if they think he's a star? Barron, do they think they move up and get him? I think there's a lot of options for some trade ups here. And even if you want to talk about higher, what if Walker starts falling? I doubt he will. Michael Williams starts falling. But I think once we get to this 15 range, and once we're looking at Mike Green dropping or Green, Johnson, Jihad, if they love one of those guys, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a big move up. That's what I'm thinking here. I'm thinking that the big move for the Bills was never going to be free agency. It was always going to be a big swing in the draft, which they haven't done recently. Could they do it again? Sure. I think so. Let's get into some Stefon Diggs. Would you want Stefon Diggs back? No. I'm not really thinking about Stefon Diggs. John Robert here. Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson's a second round pick, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of talk about him. If they can get him in the second round, sure. I don't use that first round pick at the end of him for him. He's more of an Epineza guy where he could be a project. He couldn't. But that's where I'm sticking with. Is he's a second round guy. Diggs, I wouldn't welcome back. I don't think there should be any smoke. I could see why he'd want to be trying to do that. I'm here. I'm with you, Joe. John. No to Stefon. It's as simple as that. The Bengals paying Chase and Higgins. This is what I want to wrap up on. The Hendrickson race, it's still a race. I don't think the Bills are in it anymore, but I'm sure that there are a lot of teams in the NFL in it. But I would pay the defensive end over paying the wide receivers. And I get that this was probably a move to make Joe Burrow happy as much as anything. Just doesn't seem worth it to me, man. And I don't think this is how you build a winning team. So a lot of flash, but not a lot of substance, in my opinion, for how this situation for the Bengals played out. I don't think it's going to pay off for them. I wouldn't be as worried about them being a contender in the future as we have been in years past. But that's it. I mean, I just wanted to come in here, get something out. I'm with it on Harrison, fastest guy in the combine. They need to address a corner, but I think they could go for a big move up. Will Johnson, Mike Green, Jihad Campbell. I think look out for those guys being potential first round options, trade up options for the Bills. But we paid the Bills. I told you it was going to be a micro episode today. So we'll be back playing some Fortnite later tonight. We'll be back with a regular episode next week. But for the whole squad here, enjoy March Madness. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. We paid the Bills. Have a great night, folks. Go Bills.